Some period of time has gone by and we have these lovely shoe storage racks built. Now you could leave these like this, fasten them to the wall, and they look great. But I want to make mine look a little bit better. So you might be wondering how I'm going to get these up against the wall because I've got my mold in here. Now I could just remove this from about here to the other side of the last one. And then if I ever have to remove these, it's going to be some molding missing and I have to go and replace that. So what I'm going to do is trace this onto here, cut this out, and then this will slot right up against the wall. I think this is going to have to contour around here a little bit. We'll just kind of round that off. And then this little bit here is going to have to come off. So it's going to come across here. I'm also not going to round it off too much. I'm just going to use this tool saw. It's going to chip off, but I'm just going to push this in. I would say that's pretty much perfect. These together, I'm going to use 1.25" deck mate screws. That's what I have lying around. It's the right size, and they might stick out a little bit, but I'll make sure not to over tighten them. These first clamps here, I really like these because they're got flat surfaces on them. I'm just going to line these up. Yeah, we'll have to use this down here. I'm just going to put a little pilot hole through first, just to get it started. Carefully, I almost just pulled it to the side. Ah. It's time to measure up all the face plates and get these cut and secured onto the rest of the shoe storage rack. It's not secured in place yet, so I'm going to get this centered where I want it. For the base plate, we've got a 1x4. So I'm going to run this along here. Right here, I'm going to do a miter. I'm just going to mark the inside edge. So we'll bring it this way a little bit, so we don't have too much waste on that side. Because we've got the unit right here, we can just measure what the inside measurement needs to be, and we can creep up on this. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and then we can bring it in a little bit. Let's do the same on the other side, and we'll make sure we know it's going this way. You could just do this by hand, or use your circular saw, but I got a miter saw here, so I'm just going to use this, make it a little bit easier. I'm going to put it up to there, and then it's going to be a little bit too long, but we can then get a measurement for that. If I turn this around, put this to the edge, put this right in, I should be able to mark the bottom of this piece, and that should be the length that I need. That'll be perfect. I'm doing pretty close to a 90 there. It's going to look really good. Best thing to do is line this up. Make sure we don't need to take any off of it. Check the other side. Yeah, see, I left it a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim that down a little bit more. And doing it this way means you really can creep up on the cuts. If you cut it too small, you can't add any wood. But if you cut it a little bit larger, you can always make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to get another piece of wood and get this piece to the right size as well. Took a few attempts, but I marked out the cutout for the molding. Got our piece of wood secured to the workbench, and that's really important because we're going to be using a jigsaw to cut this out. You could do it by hand, and I think you get a really good result with that, but later on in the video we'll cover up any gaps that do happen if you end up doing this by hand. I've used a lot of tools in this video so far, but don't worry, in a couple of weeks time I've got a video that's going to be coming out, and it's going to explain how I've been able to afford all of these tools that I have in my workshop. So if you want to build up your workshop of tools, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you're not going to want to miss that video. Oh, perfect, almost. Right here. Ooh. Ooh, that looks pretty good, actually. I'm really impressed with that. I'm gonna go trace that onto the other side, and we're gonna cut it out on the other side and see if the other side comes out just as good. Just for added support here, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue, nothing too much. I don't think it's going to really help out that much, but we can line this up right to the corners. Got 2-inch nails in here. We got face frames. We got a 1x2, and this here is actually, let's see here, it is 1 inch. It's 1.5 inches thick. Now we only need 1.25 inches down here, so we're going to take 1/4 inch off this. So we're going to get the table saw out and do that. And then for height wise, we're actually going to put it up just to underneath here. So from there, we need 32 3/8. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces, 32 3/8, to get these front 2 done first, and then we can get the side pieces done just after. Turns out 32 3/8 is just a little bit too long. If you're looking for a good way to sneak up on cuts, then this is a really good way to do it. Bring your blade down, butt your piece of wood up against. Be sure not to push too hard or you end up bending the blade. Lift your blade up, and then you can come down and cut a little piece off. This is a really good way to sneak up on a cut. We can get a good look at how it's going to be. We also have a 1x3 that's going to go on the back here, and that's because I didn't want to join 2 pieces of wood together for the top, so it allows me to use a 1x12, and we'll get a nice overhang. If you did it the other way, this would be in like this, and then everything would be overhanging. So you need to pad this out, or just get a bigger piece of wood, or join 2 pieces together, which can be a little bit challenging if you don't have a bunch of tools. So I'm going to use glue and nails for the face frames. Just make sure that the drawers do open. So put the face frame in place and then open each drawer, and then you know that you've got it in the right place and you're not going to be blocking any drawer. For along the top here, I did trim a piece down. This is about 9/16 thick. It's the same 1x. We can put this piece in first. I just got some 120 grit sandpaper here and a block of wood. Let's go around and sand everything up. I'm going to scuff this up ever so slightly, and that's our primer sticks to that. And then I'm going to focus any areas. So this drawer here is kind of catching the face frame here. So I'm just going to open this up and then focus a little bit on this face frame here. And then I can close that. I'm going to fill in all the gaps between the pieces of wood, like down this side here. This way you're going to get a really nice finish when it's all said and done, and fill in any nail holes. Nobody wants to see that. We already gave everything a scuff sand. We already sanded everything down here, so all I need to do is come back and sand over all the areas where I put some filler in. Make sure it's dry before you come back and do this. Now, we've got everything sanded. Just going to dust everything down. We don't want to have any debris left, or the paint won't stick. I hate painting, but something I have learned over the years is the prep makes it go a little bit easier because you don't have to come back and do any more painting than you anticipated at first. So prep as well and as much as you can, and then you don't have to paint as much. And as I start doing my least favorite part of any build, I made a huge mistake. Now I really like this blue. It's a deep, dark navy blue. Well, it's the wrong blue. My wife told me to paint it blue, so I did exactly that. And well, I had to sand it all back, primer it, and paint it again in this lovely other shade of blue, which might be grey, could be blue, but I'm going to call it blue-grey. Now I'm going to sand the top down so it's ready for staining. Make sure I get the right colour this time. I'm going to apply a pre-stain conditioner. This way you don't get a blotchy finish when you apply the stain. And the stain that I had lying around was this willow grey. Really like this color. We did our dining table this color, so I know what it's going to look like. So I get the stain on here, and then I'm going to wipe it off with a dry cloth. Now you can leave this a little bit longer if you want a darker stain, but I wanted it a little bit lighter, so I didn't leave it that long. Now I'm going to top it off with a clear coat. I'm using the matte Varathane here. I'm going to apply 3 coats and give it a light sand in between. And we're almost there. We're just going to use a stud finder to find the studs and any cables in the wall to make sure we're not going to hit them when we drill the holes for the wall anchors. I'm just using the wall anchors that came with the units, but I should really upgrade them to something a little bit stronger as they're a little bit flimsy. I was expecting to use some sealant at this joint, but I absolutely nailed it, so I'm going to skip that step. Now it's time to secure the back plate, and I'm going to use my stud finder here to find the stud, and then I can drive a 2-inch nail through the back plate and into the stud. This is going to secure that in place while I get this top on. And to secure the top, I'm going to secure it from below. I'm going to drill a pilot hole through. I then use 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws to secure the top. That's what I had lying around, and sometimes you just have to work with what you have. Now I'm going to install the doors, drawers, whatever you call them. I did put some fancy handles on here, but they're totally not necessary because you can open them without that. And now it's time to start putting my shoes away so that people don't see them as soon as they walk into the house. Fits 4 shoes roughly, adult size shoes per side. You've got 2 in here, and look at that. All hidden away. Looks great. And there's every single other shoe in there too. There we have it. The shoes are hidden away. Nobody's going to see them when they walk in the house or trip over them. Really impressed with how well this build turned out. Only shame is that I had to paint it twice, but overall I think this colour is much better than the blue I chose.